it's really like a holy grail because it can decarbonize our power sector, as we've just seen with long-term energy storage or seasonal storage solution, but it can also be transported in our natural gas infrastructure to provide heating for buildings. It can also be used as a fuel for transportation. Like, think about it. How are we going to fly on with batteries? Like, can we fly like just like a battery plane, or what about our trucks? And then you think of the ships, right? Like, that's way too heavy. It's just, it doesn't work. Like batteries, unfortunately, on ships is not going to cut it. You cannot use electrons, so you need a hydrocarbon, which is the fossil fuel.
Which is where you come in.
Sorry, the hydrogen. Hydrocarbon is the hydrogen, which is where we come in, and the industries as well. You cannot electrify your whole industry, and this is again where hydrogen can play a role.
Welcome to the Phil with Forbes 30 podcast. This is Phil Michaels, Forbes 30 Under 30 entrepreneur and performance coach. Every year, Forbes names the top 30 entrepreneurs, leaders, and stars in the world. And each week, I bring you one of them to help you level up in your life and business. From celebrities like LeBron James to Kylie Jenner and Cardi B, to entrepreneurs with companies like DoorDash, Instagram, and YouTube, you're sure to learn from the list. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now it's time to level up. Level up.
Welcome to Phil with Forbes 30 podcast. Today we have a very special guest who co-founded Enapter, based in Berlin, Germany. She graduated from Concordia University in Montreal. She now leads Enapter's marketing and communications. And Enapter is the oil and gas company of the 21st century, the fuel of the future. It doesn't emit any CO2, which is the first to use this AEM technology on a large scale. Please welcome Vaitea. Very excited to have you here. Welcome.
Hi, Phil. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here as well.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining all the way from Berlin, Germany. We were just at the Forbes event in Berlin, such an amazing city. Tell me back when you first got announced this award, when you were first recognized for the award of being recognized in Forbes 30 Under 30, where were you? What do you remember about that moment?
Yeah, it was quite exciting. I actually didn't find out as the first person. It was my co-founder actually who also made it on the list, since we were both under 30. And he texted me. He was like, "Vaitea, did you see it?" I was like, "What? What's going on?" So it was quite an exciting moment for the two of us, because this was one of the, I guess, one of the milestones that we were aiming for when we first really got into the whole startup scene. And I was definitely not expecting it.
Where were you?
I was in Hamburg, so that's why I couldn't make it, unfortunately, to the Berlin event for the Forbes Under 30. But I was quite relaxed. I think I was actually having a cup of tea. It was late afternoon, totally not expecting it. You know, I think I pretty much like jumped out of the couch and just screamed. I was like, it happened.
It's an amazing achievement. I felt the same way. It's just a spark of joy, and you're like, wow, I made it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then you start texting your family.
Yeah, who was the first person you shared it with?
My family, absolutely. My brother and my
so
mom.
Proud.
Yeah, I was just like, guys.
It's funny because so many of our parents, it's difficult to probably explain what we do, and they have difficulty explaining. I know if we asked my mom what I do, I don't know if she would get even near close. But it's funny, a lot of parents seem to want their child to be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer. And so when you become an entrepreneur, take this entrepreneurial path, I find most parents aren't as receptive and supportive. They might be like, I was just talking to actually a German friend, Claudia, who's also on the list. And he was just interviewed for the podcast. And he was saying, if I asked my mom, she'd be like, he's still not an engineer at BMW. She would say what he's not doing instead of what he is doing.
Yeah, parents can be funny in that way. My father also used to tell me like, "Oh, so you're becoming an engineer now," because I'd finally tell him things that he didn't fully grasp. So my mom is super supportive. I need to actually pass the mom test when I have some ideas, because if I tell my mom, she's curious. She tries to hold on, but I don't blame her. Hydrogen was pretty new to me when I first discovered it before Enapter. So she's getting it though. She's holding on.
So it's been a crazy time right now for our families, for our friends, for our businesses. What's been your go-to hack to get the most out of this time during COVID? What's something you or your team is doing right now to play offense rather than defense?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess on a personal level, and then going into the team as well, reading has been my personal hack, just because we have less distractions, or we can choose to be less distracted. So I've been reading much more, having like a schedule actually, and then taking it up a notch with knowledge sharing. So I'm calling my friends, telling them like, hey, I just read this. Do you want me to just like tell you what it's about basically? And I've taken notes and then I share it with them. So really kind of like spread the knowledge, and also it's always great to have some practical insights of how people understand these new topics and related to current events. And then this also reaches my team of just not only about renewable energy, but also about different like economic facts and things that can kind of like spark some ideas and some debates as well. And as a team, what has been really great is our Enapter quizzes. So every Sunday, we have these sort of trivias for an hour on different topics like history, music, and of course, hydrogen. And it's quite, we had a really tough one actually last week. We went all into like the 20th century. So the winner this time was one of our like more like senior colleagues. And we're just like, hey, now it was your turn. It was all about your topics. But it's, it's
what a great idea to involve the team in a more fun and engaging way than just a typical meeting.
Yeah, really.
Like a trivia night.
Exactly. So a bit of a challenge for us is we have 4 different locations, one in Italy, one in St. Petersburg, Berlin, and also Thailand. So the Thailand time difference, this time we're like, okay, we're doing it in the afternoon in Europe so that the Thai team can also join. And so we had all locations. And yeah, it's great to just, like carve some time just for fun. And for the whole teams to get to compete a little bit.
What's like an example of a question you might ask, and like thinking of, is there a trivia question that maybe was really funny or stuck out to you that you're like, wow, this is a good dinner table conversation I should bring up at my next family dinner, see if anybody knows it.
I mean, one that really like did stick to me was why is the sky blue? And
Ooh,
as
that's
well,
a good one.
yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not like it's not too complicated, like some people have different theories of it. And also, why would a lake only freeze at the top and not like a full, like bigger lakes as well?
Can you reveal the answers to either of these?
Sure. So the first one is it's all about the prism of light. And so as the light goes through all the way and reaches us, only the blue like waves reach us.
Wow.
Which is
very
why.
Cool. So that's why the sky is blue. So next time, if a little kid ever asks me why is the sky blue, I now have an educated answer.
You can also like drop hints with Pink Floyd, get a bit of like music going on as well.
Good. And I love how you're not only just reading during this time, but you're sharing that knowledge. I love that, because then it ingrains it more in your mind too, and you're more likely to recall it and remember it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, so I think now the question on offense, I think is quite an interesting one as well, because this is something that we've also just been mindful to still engage with our partners, with our network. So we've been hosting virtual events for partners only, for potential partners as well, to get to know us. And it's been really great to just get their feedback on the different like R&D ideas that we're having, and we're just like, is this useful for you, or should we just drop it now? So that's been a really good way to also stay connected and keep going.
So who are the people that you partner with, the companies that you partner with? Is it governments? Is it municipalities? Who's your ideal client essentially?
Sure. So our ideal client would be a system integrator, engineering, procurement, or construction company, an independent power provider. Municipalities also are great, but the difference between the 3 that I just stated and then municipality is the technical skill. So our ideal partner is basically someone, we can give them a hydrogen generator and they know what to do with it. There's no questions. Okay. They understand how to integrate it within a whole energy setup, which means some solar panels, some inverters, some batteries, the storage tank, and then the fuel cell to generate electricity.
Wow. So even solar panel companies might be interested in working with you because they might already know what to do. So anyone listening, if you want a hydrogen generator, you know who to call. So walk me through how it works for the layman. This is the future fuel for everyone? Is it just a subset of a population? What are we looking at? Because right now we're on fossil fuels still, I'm assuming is the majority of the world. How do we make that transition and how do you solve that problem?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting off with just how it works, it's quite simple. All you need is electricity and water. So we're promoting renewable electricity because it's widely available and even cheaper today. So you'll have an electricity and a water input into our hydrogen generator. And what our technology basically does is that it will split the water into H2 and O2. And the H2 is an energy vector. So it will be the output of our hydrogen generator. It'll be stored in a gas tank. And this can be stored for however long you want, and it will never lose any energy density. So long-term storage, this is it, basically. And then,
so it sounds like a no-brainer. I mean, why wouldn't everyone use this?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's because lobbyists of these big oil companies are paying a lot of money to maintain that old, antiquated energy such as coal.
Yeah, that's definitely playing a role in this whole picture. I think one of the arguments as well has been the lack of an infrastructure and also the cost of green hydrogen. Because actually hydrogen has been here for a very long time, but it has been made from fossil fuels. So this whole low carbon, pretty much actually zero carbon technology, not real if it's coming from the fossil fuels. So I think it was not yet picking up because we weren't here yet. But now that
there you go. Good answer. Good answer. No wonder you're in charge of communications.
But I mean, it's really like a holy grail because it can decarbonize our power sector, as we've just seen with long-term energy storage or seasonal storage solution, but it can also be transported in our natural gas infrastructure to provide heating for buildings. It can also be used as a fuel for transportation. Like, think about it. How are we going to fly on with batteries? Like, can we fly just like a battery plane, or what about our trucks? And then you think of the ships, right? Like, that's way too heavy. It doesn't work. Like batteries, unfortunately, on ships is not going to cut it. You cannot use electrons, so you need a hydrocarbon, which is the fossil fuel.
Which is where you come in.
Sorry, the hydrogen. Hydrocarbon is the hydrogen, which is where we come in, and the industries as well. You cannot electrify your whole industry. And this is, again, where hydrogen can play a role.
That's amazing. This is a no-brainer. This is the future. And it is something that Tesla's doing similar. Are you guys competitors with them? Are they working on something? Or are you even maybe their client or a customer? If you're even, I don't know if you're able to reveal that. But
No, I think we have, so batteries and hydrogen are complementary because batteries are ideal for short-term and immediate demand of energy, whereas hydrogen will be the long-term supply of electricity or energy. So I would say we are complementary with batteries. With Tesla, I think Elon Musk has an opinion on hydrogen, which is a bit different from where we stand. But I would say Tesla is one company, but then batteries in general, we are complementary with them.
Another good answer. It's like you don't want to divide the Elon fan base. So how did you even get involved in something like this? I mean, take us back to the very beginning, Vaitea, where you're from, where you grew up, and the path that led you to where you are now and making it to the Forbes list.
Sure. Wow. Okay. We're going back.
Going way back.
So I was born in New Caledonia. It's a French island in the Pacific next to Australia and New Zealand. But I grew up in Maryland and then studied in Montreal. And growing up, I was spending almost all of our time outdoors, camping, going back to New Caledonia, being fortunate enough to see my family, spend some time there as well, and always getting involved in environmental actions. Actually, I think like one of my first volunteering job was Environment for America, and I was canvassing to keep our parks. That's like one of the first things that I had done. Created a sustainability club as well, like in middle school. And then during my studies at Concordia, I was also I was on the ski team, so I was also spending a lot of time outdoors. And then after 4 years in Canada, I was also curious about what else there was in the world, what other continent had I not had the chance to explore yet. And so I thought, why not Southeast Asia? It's warm. I think that was the main reason after Montreal. So packed up, moved to Chiang Mai, which is in the northern part of Thailand. And I was also working in the energy field at that time, but it was an online job. And quickly enough, I just felt too disconnected from my environment. I'd always spent my time with people outdoors, that it got me curious about like, so who are the people living here? You know, what are they up to? And so I read this article about this self-sufficient home that was running on 100% renewables, and that was self-sufficient in every way, from an agricultural standpoint, in the sense that they had a permaculture garden, from a water standpoint where they collected their own water, and from an energy standpoint. And this was all with the use of hydrogen technology. And this pretty much blew my mind because I just didn't even know this existed. And I was always very curious about like tech trends. And I decided to go meet the people who were building this home. And so I pretty much showed up with my CV.
Where you just cold called them? You looked up their address on a Google map?
The owner
I would call
also
this a scrappy hustle, by the way.
Is this okay, well, I guess it was, I realized that they also, the owner, well, Sebastian had a creative agency, and I had some experience in agency as well, so I thought I would show up to the creative agency, not to his home, you know, but I did show up to his creative agency with my CV and some cookies. And yeah, knocked on the door, said hello, told them I just graduated from a business degree, and had just moved to the same town. And that's how it all started, basically. That's how I got to meet Sebastian and his son, Jan. So Jan is an engineer. He's actually the one who set up the whole system. You know, it's pretty crazy. He just graduated, has his master's in engineering, and his father, Sebastian, wanted to be energy independent, but as a guest in Thailand, did not want to use diesel generators. He was like, no, I want to make the land I'm living on, to leave it in a better place than I came here. I'm a guest. And this was really the whole intention of this project was, I will build my whole home, because he's really into like design, but I will make sure that it is good for the environment. So I met them, and they were just about to announce the full phase of the deployment of their technology, not only for the energy house and the guest houses, but also to the main home, the kitchen, the workshop, really the full microgrid basically that they have there. And I thought it was just, yeah, it was just,
What
wow,
year was this
basically.
at that time?
This was, so I met them, it was 2015 in fall, and they were thinking about organizing an event in January 2016, and I told them, hey, let me help out. I will do whatever you guys need me to do, but I'm here to spread the word.
Roll up the sleeves, you're ready to go, whatever it takes.
Exactly. So it was a really good turnout. We had a distinguished architect in Thailand who came to recognize also the types of building that we should be making in the future. We had some academia buddies and joined to talk about more like the technology side of things and how this is really something that we need to raise awareness of this such a solution. And so this Vaitea House, which is the name of their home, became a communication and a collaboration platform for Southeast Asia on hydrogen.
Wow. And then how did you find success from there? Like, how did you move from pairing up with Sebastian, his son, Jan, and then how did you find success? And along that way to success, we usually come across a failure or an apparent failure that later set you up for success. What obstacles did you face along the way?
Sure. So The technology that was provided in the Fisua house was made by a small company in Italy, and Sebastian was also a shareholder of this company and had the chance to save it from a bankruptcy. Turned to his son Jan, asked him, do we know enough about this technology to start a business? Are we doing this? And that's actually when and how Enapter was born, is when we all turned to each other in Bangkok in a meeting room and we're like, yes, okay, let's do this. Enapter is being born right now. So it was we were fortunate that the original team of electrochemists were there. So I would say that the failures are more about hard learning sessions, let's say, because we had already like a body of experts that knew the technology and that could assist us through developing it and really understanding how can we scale this technology, basically. And so in the beginning, we were hand making the electrolyzer part by part. And as we were growing, we really started to like implement a process. And so there were a lot of improvements on those problems that we initially had because we were learning basically how to not only produce 1 or 2 or 3 a month, but actually start producing many, many more.
Let's create a system that can develop many at one time instead of just by hand one. And sometimes that's what we have to do in the beginning.
Yeah, no, I mean, now it's just like the solutions that we're coming up with, we have like a supermarket for our assembly, basically. You know, there's like a clear production board where everyone knows where to find what, and like implementing this and just really growing in our production like methods and capacities. We're just like, okay, like it's organized now, but it took a while.
How did you transition from that moment though? Like, what did you do? Did you hire a consultant? Did you sit down and say, hey team, we need a system, we need a process? Did you use a certain app or a software? How did you turn it from that manual process into, you know, I know the book Emit was one of the most often recommended books to me when I was first starting out. It's by Michael Gerber, and it's all about how do you create systems in your business so you don't become an employee of your own business. So you can work on your business rather than in your business. And so he walks you through step by step how to write these manuals. Now I know there's companies and apps like Trainual, which is like manual, but for training. So what did you do to transition from that moment of manual hand by hand to a process or system?
Well, I guess that was a lot of hair pulling moments of just, how are we missing this piece? Why do we have like 55 different screws? Like, why is nothing consistent? Why are things all over the place? It was just pretty much like a big mess, and we just couldn't keep track of what we had, what we needed, where we were. So, I mean, we used many different processes. Like, I mean, we tried Excel sheets, we tried Post-its. We pretty much tried everything that was quite like analog, I would say. There was no tools or no consultants. It was just pretty much all of us together, the production team together, just trying to crack this, and then realize, okay, probably the easiest thing is just like a central space where everyone knows where to bring back, what to bring back, where to place it, and just a few like housekeeping rules for everyone to follow the system.
There you go. So if you in the audience are listening and you're unorganized or your team's all over the place, now we know what to do. Start with Excel sheets, then Post-it notes, and eventually you'll get there.
Yes.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, but what's something that maybe you found as a common myth about your industry? Because I'm assuming this is a very male-dominated space with energy and oil. Am I wrong by that? And then if so, what other common myths are there outside of just maybe the gender stereotype?
Sure. Yeah, on the topic of the gender stereotype, I'm actually quite surprised that there is more of a balance in the energy and especially the sustainability field than I've seen in other industries like mobile apps, for example. I remember speaking on panels or going to events and I was like, where are the women? So in the renewable energy space, I feel like there are a lot more women. I guess it's maybe like the concept of nurturing the environment, Mother Nature, and also just the whole conservation idea, I feel, is bringing in this like nice balance of diversity. But maybe it's also because I'm reaching out to diverse networks or to more like younger networks or startups. But I have found that there's a bit more diversity than the mobile apps, but more work to do. definitely more, especially like decision-making women. You know, that's where it's like, okay, let's go.
So what advice would you give a woman that wants to enter this industry, or anyone for that matter?
So I mean, a woman, I would really say, like, don't undervalue yourself. Like, I mean, I've heard it so often of just, we don't ask for the same salary as men. We think we're worth less. And I mean, it's a cliche, but honestly, double what you think you're worth, and like, it's okay. So, yeah, just like be bold and don't be shy. You know, I think back to like my 20-year-old self, just showing up, just being like, why not? You know, what's stopping me? So, that's anyone,
why you hire a lot of women. I mean, yeah, that's for anyone. I was actually reading this statistic in Adam Grant, the professor at Wharton at University of Pennsylvania, and his book, Give and Take.
Yes.
In the book, he outlines the number one variable that determines your future wealth and future salary at your company is your initial starting salary. Mm-hmm. And so when they found the gender gap issue, when they dove a little deeper, he was wondering, why is this the case? I don't think there's just men trying to keep women from entering the industry. So he kept asking why. He did the 5 whys Toyota method, and he came up with, apparently, women negotiate their starting salary only 7% of the time. Men negotiate their starting salary 57% of the time. So he found a huge gap in the, like you said, in the what you're worth, the value of what you're worth, and how do you negotiate that. So do you have any recommendations other than just double what you're worth? Were you able to negotiate your initial?
I have to admit that I just entered purely out of like spirits and heart, and I just never really questioned it. I'm really fortunate to be with co-founders that are extremely fair and really even saw like not more value than I did in myself, but actually saw the potential that I could contribute. So I really did enter with like full trust, and I have to admit, no, I did not set my salary at all. Now I'm like, okay, oh no. But
7%. I wonder if I'm in that 7%.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but I think, but at the same time, especially when you're young, you also accept different kinds of like currencies. Let's say I got to travel, I got to meet really interesting people, and I mean, I'm now a co-founder, so I think that also comes with some perks as well. But yeah.
Congratulations. So you took it from employment to equity.
Yeah,
Touche. You're like, so you did negotiate your salary, you just did it a little differently.
Just a little.
Good answer. Smooth. So it sounds like you have a great relationship with your co-founders and Sebastian and his son, Jon. Who were the most pivotal people in your life to help you get to where you are now? Who was your coach, your mentor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Sebastian, honestly, was an extremely helpful person throughout this whole process of building a company. And so he's the father of Jan, so they are already very similar and really quick and just really both really clever and experts in their field as well. A lot of knowledge that is, I mean, Jan always says like, Sebastian learns so many different types of knowledges, and you just wonder where he stores it all and how he just comes back out with it. And he goes really deep into certain topics. So he's been really supportive, and he's shared a lot of his experience as well with us. So he's kind of been a speed track into how should we do things and how should we not do things. He also had formed a team in St. Petersburg that is very, very strong in software. And so I would say that Nikolai, who is also a colleague now, was one of those mentors and guides. He has a really sharp eye on design, and he's super knowledgeable in everything software related, and leads our software team. So I'd really say that Sebastian and Nikolai, from a professional standpoint, have guided us through.
Great. Nikolai is a great name to have when you're in the energy field with the Nikola Tesla.
True. That's actually true. Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't want to forget the personal space as well, because I think like as an entrepreneur, you're dedicating so much energy to your like professional endeavor, but the personal reflection also needs some time. So I did also have a holistic coach, Julian Gaynor, amazing guy, who really brought in the elements that I was not necessarily tackling or being like conscious about, and brought in some really good tools, helped me stay in balance. Pretty much.
Yeah, coaches are important, and they're becoming more and more popular. Steve Jobs had a coach, CEO of Google has a coach, COO of Facebook has a coach. It's becoming more and more mainstream. People are realizing, wow, it's imperative to have someone that's directly invested in your success without bias or without a conflict of interest.
Exactly. It's key.
Let's transition now into something I like to call the under 30 seconds round, where I'm going to fire off a few questions and answer with the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Number one, what is the book you've gifted, Vaitea, more often than any other book, and why?
The Wise Heart. It's a guide to universal teachings of Buddhist psychology. So it's written by Jack Kornfield, and I just love it because every bit is like a meditation, but it ties in like the Buddhist principles, the traditional Buddhism, to our Western psychology. So I feel like it's every sentence is like a gift basically to yourself, where you can like really reflect, and it's anyone can read it. It's I tried once reading like a Buddhist like traditional book, and I was just like, wow. It's just I couldn't relate to it. Maybe, I think it's from a different time, the way, and also like some concepts are lost in translation, like some words cannot be, some feelings can't be explained. So this book, I was actually gifted this book in the first place. And then I was like, okay, my friends also need this one too. And I don't think there's any limit to
That's beautiful. When I was in the Eastern Hemisphere, I also read The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama, and that really exposed me to Dharma, and I was mind blown by that concept. And I love what you said there, is every sentence is a gift. I hope one day when I become an author, someone gives me that compliment. I mean, talk about a compliment to the author, geez. Okay, number two, what's one of the best and one of the worst investments you've ever made, and why?
Worst investment. Recently in our office, we tried to get these sound canceling panels that go from the bottom up. I have to say it's probably my mistake. I didn't really understand what I was getting, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't cancel any noise. So we were just like putting up all these panels, and we're just like peeking out from each other like, hey, I can't see you, but I can hear you. So that wasn't so great. Best investment though, I love my lightweight carry-on Samsonite. It's amazing. It's
you
just
gotta
like,
have good luggage.
Exactly, and especially a carry-on, it's just like a little feather. Before that, I was just with like normal ones, and now I'm just like, never again.
Do you have like, is there a model name or something that if you're in the audience, they could look it up?
If you Google Samsonite lightweight
carry-on, there you go.
Amazing.
Number three, what's the most impactful thing you do in your morning routine, and the most impactful thing you do in your evening routine that you think is like your 80-20, the 20% of stuff you do that generates 80% of the impact? What's the most impactful thing in the morning and one in the evening?
Absolutely. Morning exercise. That's definitely the way to go. Whether it's a run, like this morning I was going on, and I just took off my headphones, just listened to the birds while running, and I was like, yes, this is it.
Beautiful.
This is, yeah. And The evening routine is reading. I just feel like it's just such a great way to just cool down, and then your dreams are just even crazier. So double.
Awesome. There you go. Number 4, pretend you won the Peter Thiel Fellowship and you were going to get money to start a business instead of go to college. Where would you start? What's the first thing you would do to start your own business?
Oh, I mean, now that I'm in the hydrogen field, I would just totally go there again. But if I'm just out of college, I don't know about it yet. I would most likely go into towards the zero waste movement. I actually just started yesterday a zero waste 30-day challenge where, no single-use plastic, which by the way, during Corona time is quasi-mission impossible, but I'm still sticking through it. So I would definitely go around this path, whether it's sustainable packaging or just, giving more tips to people to know how they can have a more sustainable lifestyle, basically.
And what would you do? Is the first thing you would do is start researching in that particular area? Would you find someone that's an expert in that field? Would you Google Maps a nearby location and, and bring cookies?
I'd bake them too. But I think I'd look into who's in that space, basically, like who is in the zero waste movement. And I think like zero waste encompasses like many different sectors. Like it could be zero food waste, which I think this would be like my first go because I love food. And I think there's a lot to do either with like the ugly food, which still tastes amazing, or also just, the general like food wasting, just try to like eliminate that, go talk to restaurants, really understand like, why are you guys doing this? Like, don't you see the problem? I would research and basically
find someone who's already in the space. Last one, what's something you never knew you needed?
When I moved to Germany, I never thought I would need fluffy soles, but they have saved my feet during the winter.
What's a fluffy sole?
So it's like this, like a liner, I guess you would call it. It's like this like extra layer just to keep your toes warm.
Really? I've never heard of this.
Right? Yeah,
Is this
I didn't
a thing?
know that either. Yeah, my boyfriend got this for me. I was like, wow. Okay.
Wait, so they go inside the shoe and they keep your toes warm?
Yeah, it basically like insulates you from like the ground, the cold of the ground, and they're fluffy and it's usually made out of wool and it's like the shape of your foot. You just slip them into your boots. Every German person has this. It was
fluffy
a discovery
soles.
for me. Yes.
Well, I have 3 German friends and they're all going to hear about this. I haven't found this out because it was freezing in Berlin. Jeez, this was December, gentlemen. All right. So we will definitely let them know. So fluffy soles, make sure you pick some up. Thank you so much for being here today, Vaitea. Before you go, what's next for you? What's the next big goal, milestone, or bucket list item you want to achieve?
Big goal with Enapter is our campus. So that's a really exciting milestone. It's a net zero building, which, and it's not just one building actually, it's where we will do our mass manufacturing of our AEM electrolyzers so that we can really ship them out to all industries. And at the heart of this campus is not only the net zero concept, but also a circular economy value that we're putting in, where we will take back electrolyzers, take away the parts that can be recycled, and really just, again, go towards the zero waste. But
You're walking the talk. I mean, that makes sense. You're going to have a building that's zero waste, or net zero. So where will it be based?
This is, okay, so right now we're in the location scouting. Most likely it will be in Germany.
Okay, and are you going to offer tours if people want to visit and witness this experience?
Yeah. I think we can give some behind the scenes, and then I think it'll actually be quite educational. And we will have several buildings that are just top secret, but the public ones definitely. I think we should invite some special guests.
Perfect. We'll keep you posted on that location, and next time I'm over in that way, I'm going to plan a visit. So I'm going to hold you to your word.
Please do.
And Vaitea, where do listeners go to connect with you directly?
So LinkedIn, great platform, Vaitea Cowan. I'm also on Twitter. Engage with me. Probably that'll be good for me because I follow people, but LinkedIn is probably the best way to connect with me.
And please share your Twitter handle with the audience so they know where to go.
So it's @co Vaitea.
Perfect. please go connect with Vaitea. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here today. We learned so much. We learned how to not only negotiate your salary, but turn that salary into equity. And we learned about fluffy souls. We learned a lot today about renewable energy. And Elon, you have some competition at Tesla. I hope this episode helped you as much as it helped me. Have an amazing day. Thank you, Vaitea.
Thank you, Phil. Ciao.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope this episode helped you as much as it helped me. Who do you think would benefit from hearing it? You can make an impact on their life by sharing it now. Before you go, I encourage you to tell us your favorite part of the episode in the review section. Now it's time to level up.